There were three bedroom doors on the second floor of my parents' house. I knew that because I had lived there for 18 years. My parents' room was at the end of the hallway. My sister's room was on the left, and mine was directly across from hers. Three doors, not four. But on the last night I ever slept in that house, I stepped out of my bedroom at 1:14 in the morning and found another door between mine and my sister's. It was painted the same color as the others, with the same brass handle and the same narrow strip of light beneath it. The only difference was that the door had no number, no lock, and no reason to exist. Something was standing on the other side. I could hear it adjusting its weight, one foot, then the other. It was as though it had been waiting in that room for years and had only just realized I was home alone. Before I tell you what happened when that door finally opened, you need to understand something about my family. My mother had one unusual rule when we were children. She never allowed us to count the doors upstairs after dark. At the time, I thought it was a game. Now I understand that she was trying to keep us from noticing. There had always been one too many. My parents' house stood in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. It was built in 1979 and looked almost identical to every other house on the street. It had 2 floors, red brick on the lower half, white siding above it, and a narrow driveway leading to an attached garage. There was a maple tree in the front yard and a wooden fence my father had repaired so many times that almost none of the original boards remained. Nothing about the house looked unusual. That was what made everything worse. This wasn't a forgotten cabin or an empty building at the edge of town. This was the place where I learned to ride a bicycle, where my sister and I opened presents every December morning, and where my father watched baseball from the same brown chair for almost 20 years. I knew every sound the house made. There was the click of the heating system, the soft knock in the pipes when someone used the upstairs shower, the refrigerator compressor turning on around midnight, the creak of the third stair from the bottom, and the whistle of the hallway vent when the bedroom doors were closed. Familiar, safe sounds. By the autumn of 2023, my parents had decided to sell the house and move into a smaller place closer to my sister. Most of the furniture had already been packed. The walls were covered with pale rectangles where family photographs had hung for years. Cardboard boxes filled the dining room. The living room felt too large without the shelves, curtains, and old furniture that had made it ours. I drove in on a Friday evening to help my father catalog the things left in the attic and garage. My parents planned to stay at my sister's house that night because my mother had an early medical appointment near her neighborhood. I told them I would remain at the old house. I wanted one final quiet night there. That was honestly the reason. I had recently ended a relationship and moved into a smaller apartment. Work had been difficult. Everything in my life felt temporary. The house was changing too, but it was still the closest thing I had to a permanent place. My father left at 7:18 in the evening. My mother stood on the front porch for several seconds before following him. She looked back at the upstairs windows. "Don't stay up too late," she said. "I won't," and leave the hallway light on. I laughed. "I'm 31. I know how old you are." She didn't laugh with me. "Just leave it on." I promised. Then she got into the car. I watched their taillights disappear at the end of the street. The neighborhood became quiet. Rain had started earlier that afternoon. It tapped lightly against the windows and gathered in the gutters. Somewhere beyond the back fence, a dog barked twice, then stopped. I locked the front door, made coffee, and began working through the boxes in the dining room. For the first 2 hours, nothing unusual happened. I found old school notebooks, baseball cards, and a box of cassette tapes my father had forgotten about. My sister called at 9:06 in the evening to ask whether I had found her childhood jewelry box. We spoke for 10 minutes. Before ending the call, she said, "You're really staying there alone? Why does everyone keep asking me that?" "I don't know. That house feels strange when it's empty. It's the same house." "No," she said. "It isn't." I asked what she meant. She was quiet for a moment. Then she changed the subject. At 9:31 in the evening, I took a box of photographs upstairs. The hallway light was already on. I had not turned it on. I assumed my mother had left it that way. The second floor looked smaller, without furniture. My parents' room was mostly empty. My sister's room still contained a mattress, a dresser, and 3 taped boxes. My old bedroom had a desk, a folding chair, and the bed I planned to use. At the center of the hallway was the linen closet. That detail matters. The linen closet stood between my bedroom and my sister's room. It had a narrow folding door with white wooden slats. Not a regular bedroom door. I opened it and found towels, spare blankets, and an old plastic laundry basket. I placed the photograph box on the hallway floor and began sorting through it. Most of the pictures were ordinary family memories. There were birthday parties, school events, vacations, my parents standing beside a lake, and my sister wearing a graduation gown. Near the bottom, I found a photograph of the upstairs hallway. It had been taken during a renovation in 1998. The carpet was missing. Tools lined the wall. My father stood near the stairs holding a tape measure. Behind him were 4 bedroom doors. I stared at the photograph. Then I looked up. 3 bedroom doors. 1 linen closet. I examined the picture again. The 4th door occupied the place where the linen closet should have been. It was fully open. The room beyond it was dark. A child stood inside. Only part of the child was visible. I could see one shoulder, one arm, and the side of a pale face turned toward my father. I assumed it was me. I turned the photograph over. My mother had written, "Upstairs renovation. April 1998. Below that was another sentence. It had been crossed out so heavily that the paper had almost torn. I held the photograph near the hallway light. The indentation remained visible beneath the ink. I could make out 4 words. "We found him again." I called my mother. She answered after the 3rd ring. "What did you find?" she asked. She didn't say hello. I told her about the photograph. For several seconds, I heard only the sound of the road through the car speakers. Then she said, "Put it back in the box." "Who is the child?" "Put it back." "Is it me?" "No." The answer came too quickly. My father said something in the background that I couldn't hear. My mother lowered her voice. "Where are you standing?" "In the hallway. Is the linen closet closed?" I looked toward it. The folding door was still open. "Yes," I lied. "Close it." "Mom, what is going on?" "Close it, leave the hallway light on, and go downstairs." Her voice sounded different. She did not sound panicked. She sounded like something worse. Certain. I closed the linen closet. The wooden slats clicked against the frame. "Okay, go downstairs." I picked up the photograph box. As I turned toward the stairs, something moved inside the closet. A soft shift, like fabric against wood. I froze. Mom? What? There's something in the closet. Don't open it. You think someone is in the house? No. The way she said it made my mouth go dry. Not someone. I kept my eyes on the closet. What happened here in 1998? My mother did not answer. The folding door bent inward, just slightly, as though pressure had been applied from the other side. Then it returned to place. I backed toward the stairs. My mother spoke in a low, measured voice. When you were 7, you started talking about another bedroom. I said nothing. You said it appeared at night. You said a boy lived inside it. I don't remember that, I know. What boy? You never gave him a name. The closet door moved again. This time, one of the wooden slats clicked. You said he looked almost like you? My mother continued. Almost? You said his arms were longer. A cold sensation moved across my shoulders. The hallway suddenly felt narrower. I'm going downstairs. Good. I reached the top stair. Behind me, the closet handle turned. Slowly, the folding door opened 2 inches. I didn't wait. I ran downstairs and closed the stairway door behind me. My parents had installed that door during the same renovation. Until that night, I had never wondered why. I locked the stairway door. It was an ordinary interior lock, the kind you could open with a coin, but hearing it click made me feel better. My mother stayed on the phone. She told my father what I had seen. He said something sharply. Then he took the phone. Listen to me, he said. Get your keys and leave. Why didn't you tell us about this? This isn't the time. You let us grow up there. It stopped. What stopped? My father exhaled. The extra room. I looked toward the ceiling. A floorboard creaked above me. One step, directly over the dining room. Then another. My father asked whether I could hear movement. Yes. Where? Upstairs. Is it walking? I listened. A third creak, a fourth. The steps were moving down the hallway, toward the stairs. Yes. My father became quiet. Then he said, Don't let it see you leave. I thought I had misunderstood him. What? Close the curtains first. Turn off the downstairs lights 1 room at a time. Then go through the garage. Why? Because if it sees which door you use, it will be waiting on the other side. The footsteps stopped above the stairway door. A faint shadow appeared beneath it. The downstairs lights remained on, but the upstairs hallway light cast a thin line through the gap. Something blocked that line. I lowered my voice. Dad, what is it? We never found out. How can a room just appear? It doesn't begin with the room. What does it begin with? A soft knock came from the other side of the stairway door. 3 taps. My father whispered, It begins when you notice one of us where we shouldn't be. The call disconnected. I tried to call back. No signal. The Wi-Fi icon vanished. The knock came again. 3 taps. Then silence. I grabbed my keys from the kitchen counter. The garage entrance was beside the laundry room at the back of the house. To reach it, I had to cross the dining room and kitchen. I began closing the curtains. Living room first, dining room second. When I reached the kitchen window, I saw someone standing in the backyard. The figure was beneath the maple tree near the fence. Rain moved through the porch light. The person wore a dark hooded jacket and faced away from the house. I thought it might be a neighbor looking for a pet. Then I noticed the height. The fence was 6 feet tall. The figure's head rose nearly a foot above it. Its shoulders were narrow, the arms hung too low, the hands reached close to the knees. It did not move with the rain. I stepped away from the glass. My phone rang. The screen displayed my sister's name. I answered immediately. Emma, why are you outside? I looked toward the window. What? I'm watching Mom's security camera. You're standing in the backyard. My throat tightened. I'm in the kitchen. No, you're not. I'm inside. The figure beneath the tree tilted its head, not toward the kitchen window, toward the small security camera above the patio door. Emma stopped speaking. Then she whispered, "It knows I'm looking at it." The figure raised one hand. The movement was slow, careful. Each joint seemed to move separately, as if lifting an arm required a sequence it had memorized but never practiced. Its hand reached the camera. The video feed on my sister's phone went dark. The kitchen lights flickered. Once, then twice. The stairway door opened upstairs. I heard the latch slide free. I had locked it. The door began to swing inward. Very slowly. I turned off the living room light. Then the dining room light. The house darkened behind me. I kept the kitchen light on and moved toward the garage. Emma, call someone. I already did. Tell them I'm inside. I did. The security alarm made a soft electronic chime. Front door open. I could see the front door from the kitchen. It was closed. The alarm chimed again. Front door closed. Then, upstairs hallway motion detected. The alarm system had no upstairs hallway sensor. My father had removed it years earlier. The kitchen light dimmed. I reached the garage door and pulled it open. Beyond it was not the garage. The upstairs hallway stretched before me. Yellow light, brown carpet, 3 bedroom doors, and a 4th door between mine and my sister's. I stared through the doorway. My mind rejected what I was seeing. The garage door in the kitchen had opened onto the 2nd floor. At the far end of the hallway, someone stood facing my parents' room. The figure wore my father's old gray robe. I recognized the robe immediately. My mother had kept it hanging behind their bedroom door for years. The figure's head almost touched the ceiling. Its bare feet were turned slightly inward. Its arms hung close to the floor. Emma was asking me what I could see. I couldn't answer. The figure turned. Not all at once. The shoulders moved first, then the neck, and then the head, half a second later. There was a face. Almost. The eyes were positioned correctly, and the nose and mouth were approximately where they should have been. But the features looked unfinished. Like someone had reconstructed a human face from a description and stopped before adding the smallest details. It looked toward me. Then it smiled. The smile appeared before the rest of the expression. I slammed the garage door. The kitchen returned. I locked it. Behind the door, a floorboard creaked. Not upstairs. On the other side of the kitchen wall. Inside the garage. 1 room away. My sister was still on the phone. I told her the garage door wouldn't open properly. I did not tell her what I had seen. Saying it aloud would have made it too definite. I moved toward the front entrance. The alarm chimed. Dining room motion detected. I was standing in the kitchen. The dining room was the next room over, 1 room away. I pointed my phone camera toward the dark dining room. The screen showed the table, stacked boxes, and the open doorway to the living room. Nothing else. Then the autofocus adjusted. A tall shape stood behind the boxes. I lowered the phone. Nothing. I raised it again. The figure remained on the screen. Closer. Its head was tilted sideways to fit beneath the ceiling. 1 hand rested on a box marked Family Photos. I backed away. The figure did not follow. It remained in the dining room, 1 room away. I moved into the laundry room. The alarm chimed. Kitchen motion detected, 1 room away. I stepped into the downstairs bathroom. Laundry room motion detected. One room away. No matter where I went, it occupied the room beside me. Never entering, never retreating, maintaining. The pattern made it worse than if it had rushed toward me. It was not searching. It knew where I was. It was waiting for something. The bathroom had a small window above the sink, too narrow to climb through. I locked the door and turned on every light. The rain ticked against the glass. My reflection looked pale and unfamiliar. Emma told me officers were on the way. How long? 6 minutes. A noise came from the laundry room, cardboard sliding across tile, then the soft drag of something being positioned against the bathroom door. I leaned closer. A photograph slid beneath the gap. It stopped near my shoes. The renovation picture. My father stood in the hallway. The fourth door was open. The child remained inside, except it was no longer a child. The figure in the room was tall now. Too tall for the frame. Its face was hidden behind my father's shoulder. I turned the photograph over. The crossed-out sentence had changed. It no longer said, "We found him again." It said, "He knows which one is alone." The bathroom light went out. My phone flashlight turned on automatically. Emma's voice broke through the speaker. "Something is at your bedroom window." "That's upstairs." "I know." "What does it look like?" She didn't answer. "Emma." "It looks like you." The handle of the bathroom door moved. Down, then up, down, then up. The figure seemed to understand that the handle controlled the door, but not how. The movement repeated, down, up, precisely, mechanically. I pressed my shoulder against the door. The handle stopped. A shadow appeared beneath the gap. 2 feet stood on the other side. They were bare and too long. The toes pointed toward the door. Then the feet rotated. Without stepping, the toes turned backward. The shadow moved away. I heard it enter the kitchen. 1 room away. My phone vibrated. A photograph arrived from Emma. It was a screenshot from the upstairs security camera. The camera faced the landing. The image showed the top of the staircase and part of the hallway. I was standing there. My face pointed toward the camera. My mouth was open as though I were trying to speak. Behind me was the 4th door. The timestamp read 12:47 after midnight. At 12:47, I had been downstairs talking to my mother. I zoomed in on the image. The person wearing my face had one hand raised. It was holding up 4 fingers. The alarm chimed. Upstairs hallway motion detected. Then stairway motion detected. Then dining room motion detected. Then kitchen motion detected. It was moving. This time, it was no longer staying 1 room away. The kitchen light went out. The laundry room light went out. The darkness reached the bathroom door. The handle lowered correctly this time. The lock began to turn. Not from my side, from inside the mechanism. I opened the small bathroom window and forced my arm through. The frame cut into my sleeve. I shouted toward the neighboring house. No response. The bathroom door clicked. Unlocked, I grabbed the metal towel stand and held it in front of me. The door opened 1 inch. Darkness filled the gap. No face, no hand, only darkness. Then something inhaled from the other side. The sound was not loud, it was careful. It sounded as though it had watched people breathe and was testing the timing. The gap widened. 2 inches, 3. I pushed back. The pressure stopped immediately. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then the thing tapped once on the door. I felt the vibration through my hands. It tapped again, then a 3rd time. My mother's rule came back to me. Never count the doors upstairs after dark. 3 taps. 3 bedroom doors. The fourth was never supposed to be acknowledged. I understood something. Every time I had recognized the extra room, it had become more solid. I had looked at it, counted it, photographed it, described it. I had given it a place in the house. The bathroom door opened another inch. I closed my eyes. I stopped pushing. The door did not move. I said nothing. I tried to imagine the house exactly as it had been when I was a child. Kitchen, dining room, living room, laundry room, 3 bedrooms upstairs, 1 linen closet, no fourth room, no figure, no other person. The breathing outside the bathroom stopped. The silence lasted 5 seconds. Then something spoke. Not in my voice, not in my father's. It used no recognizable voice at all. A dry vibration passed through the door, 4 syllables, carefully separated. Which room? Is mine. Every instinct told me not to answer. The question came again. Which room is mine? The door opened another inch. A pale hand curled around its edge. The fingers were too long, each one bent in more places than it should have. I looked down, not at the hand, not at the gap, at the floor. 3 doors, 3 rooms. I repeated the idea silently, not aloud. The hand remained still. Which room is mine? A sound escaped my throat. Not an answer. The fingers tightened against the door. The wood creaked. The figure lowered itself. I could see part of its face through the gap. One eye. The eye did not look directly at me. It watched my reflection in the bathroom mirror. It had learned that people looked at one another indirectly. But it had learned the angle wrong. Its gaze was several inches too high. The mouth curved upward. Again the smile came first. I closed my eyes. The door opened fully. Cold air moved across my face. The floor shifted beneath my feet. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the bathroom. I stood in the upstairs hallway. The 4th door was directly in front of me. Every other light in the house was off. A warm glow came from beneath the extra door. Behind me, the staircase was gone. The hallway ended in a blank wall. My bedroom door stood on the left. My sister's room was on the right. My parents' room was behind me. 4 doors. I refused to count them again. Someone moved inside the extra room. I heard paper rustling, a chair sliding, the click of a television turning on. Then, the muffled sound of an old home video, children laughing. My father giving instructions from behind a camera. My mother calling everyone together for a photograph. The 4th door opened slowly. The room beyond it looked like our old living room. Not the empty living room downstairs. The living room from 1998. The room held the brown sofa, the patterned curtains, my toys on the carpet, and family photographs covering the walls. A small version of me stood at the center of the room. He was 7 years old, and he faced away from me. Beside him stood the tall figure. Its long hand rested on the child's shoulder. The child turned. It had my face. It looked directly at me. Then it lifted one finger to its lips. The television displayed a family recording. My parents sat on the sofa. My sister sat on the floor. 7-year-old me stood near the camera. Behind us, the tall figure crouched beneath the ceiling. No one in the recording reacted to it. My mother counted before taking the picture. 1. My father smiled. 2. My sister looked at the camera. 3. The child version of me lifted his hand. 4. My mother paused. Then she looked beyond the camera, toward where I was standing. 5. The figure inside the room moved. It bent forward and stepped toward the doorway. Each step was deliberate. Heel, then toe. A person reconstructing walking from memory. The child version of me whispered, "Don't let it finish." The figure raised its head. The unfinished face was changing. The eyes became darker, the nose narrowed, and the jaw adjusted. It was correcting itself, using my face as a reference. I backed away. The wall behind me felt cold. There was nowhere to go. The figure approached the threshold. 1 step, 2, 3. It stopped inside the doorway, 1 room away, waiting. "Which room? Is mine?" it asked. I looked at the old family photographs on the walls. In every picture, there was an empty space. Not an obvious gap, just enough room for one more person. There was space at the dinner table, on the sofa, beside the Christmas tree, and between my parents. The house had always been arranged to include it. The 4th room was not asking to be discovered. It was asking to be accepted. The figure stepped across the threshold. For the first time, it entered the same room as me. The hallway light went out. Something touched my shoulder. The fingers reached almost to the center of my chest. The face lowered beside mine. I could smell damp plaster, dust, and the stale sweetness of rooms kept closed too long. It whispered into my ear, "You left me here." The voice was mine. It was not a copy. It was my exact voice, but older, tired, and accusing. I shut my eyes. I thought of my mother's instructions. Never count the doors. I had always assumed the rule was meant to keep us from seeing the 4th. It wasn't. It was meant to keep the 4th from knowing we could see it. I covered my ears. I kept my eyes closed. Then I walked. I did not know which direction I was facing. I placed one hand against the wall and moved forward. The hallway seemed to stretch. The wall changed beneath my fingers. Wallpaper became paint, then wood trim, cold tile, and wallpaper again. Behind me, footsteps followed. 1 room away, always separated by a doorway I could not see. Every time I reached an opening, the footsteps stopped. When I crossed it, they continued. The house was building rooms around us: kitchen, dining room, bedroom, hallway. A room filled with packed boxes. A room that smelled like my elementary school. A room where rain fell against windows even though there were no windows. A room containing the old brown sofa. A room containing nothing except a chair facing the corner. I kept my eyes closed. I refused to count. The footsteps grew faster. The figure was learning heel, toe, then a normal human rhythm, then my rhythm. It matched me perfectly. I could no longer tell which footsteps were mine. A voice came from somewhere ahead. "Open your eyes." My mother's voice. I knew it wasn't her. "Open your eyes. You're at the stairs." I kept walking. My hand found a metal chain, the front door security chain. I opened my eyes. I stood in the entrance hall. The real front door was inches away. Red and blue light flashed through the glass. Someone was knocking from outside. "Police department. Is anyone inside?" I reached for the lock. Behind me, my own voice said, "Wait." I froze. The figure stood at the bottom of the staircase. It looked almost exactly like me now. It had the same height, the same clothes, and the same face. Only the arms remained slightly too long. The smile arrived slightly too early. It pointed at the door. "They're here for me," it said. The knocking continued. "Sir, step away from the door and identify yourself." The figure took 1 step toward me. Normal, perfect movement. It had finished learning. I opened the front door. Cold rain and flashing light flooded the entrance. I stepped outside. The officer pulled me onto the porch. I turned back. The doorway was empty. The staircase rose into darkness. Then the upstairs hallway light turned on. A figure stood at the railing, watching us. The officer saw it. I know he did, because his hand tightened around my arm. "Who else is in the house?" he asked. I remembered the question from the bathroom. "Which room?" "Is mine." I did not answer. The figure raised one hand, 4 fingers. The hallway light went out. The officers searched the house. They found no one. The garage door opened into the garage. The linen closet contained towels and blankets. There were only 3 bedroom doors upstairs. My parents arrived at 2:46 in the morning. My mother did not ask what happened. She looked at the upstairs window and began crying quietly. My father went into the dining room. The boxes of family photographs had been opened. Every picture had been removed. The photographs were arranged across the floor in chronological order. In every photograph, 4 members of my family were visible, but each picture contained 5 shadows. Sometimes the 5th shadow appeared behind us, sometimes between us, and sometimes across a wall with no person connected to it. In the newest photograph, taken at my sister's wedding, the 5th shadow stood directly behind me. My father gathered every photograph and placed them in a metal storage container. He refused to explain why he already owned the container. We left the house before sunrise. My parents never returned alone. The sale was delayed for 3 months. During the inspection, the buyer's contractor measured the 2nd floor. The interior dimensions were 11 feet wider than the exterior walls allowed. He repeated the measurement 3 times. The final inspection report described it as an instrument error. The house eventually sold to a family from Indiana. My parents did not tell them what had happened. I argued with my father about that. He said there was nothing useful we could tell them. He believed the room followed a family, not a house. I wanted to believe him. 6 weeks after the sale, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph of the upstairs hallway. It showed 4 bedroom doors. On the back, someone had written, "Which one was yours?" I contacted the new owners. The father answered. I asked whether everything was all right. He sounded confused, then cautious. He told me the house was fine. Before ending the call, he asked an unexpected question. "Did your family ever have 5 people?" "No." He was silent. "My youngest keeps setting an extra place at the dinner table." I told him to leave the house. He ended the call. They moved out 2 months later. The property has changed owners twice since then. Each family leaves within a year. The listing photographs never show the upstairs hallway. The house is currently empty, at least officially. The officer who saw the figure contacted me several months after the incident. He had reviewed his camera footage. The recording showed me opening the front door and stepping onto the porch. 37 seconds later, another person stepped out behind me. The second person looked like me. It wore my clothes. It followed me to the edge of the driveway. Then it stopped beneath the maple tree. The camera lost focus when it turned toward the officer. Up close, its face looked unfinished. I asked where it went. He said it stepped backward into the shadow of the house and did not come out again. I live in an apartment now. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and 1 entrance. I keep the floor plan taped inside a kitchen cabinet. Every few weeks I check the measurements. Most nights, everything matches. But last month, I woke at 1:14 in the morning. The hallway outside my bedroom looked longer than usual. At the far end, there was a door I had never seen before. Warm light shone beneath it. Something moved on the other side. One foot, then the other, adjusting its weight, waiting. I closed my bedroom door and did not look again. In the morning, the extra door was gone, but a framed photograph had appeared on my kitchen counter. It showed my family standing outside our old house. My parents, my sister, me, and someone else. The fifth person had my face. Its arms reached almost to its knees. On the back of the photograph, written in my handwriting, were 5 words. You finally gave me a room. If you found an extra door inside your home, would you open it to prove there was nothing there? Or would opening it be the very thing that gave it permission to exist? Tell me your theory about the fifth person. Subscribe to The Untold Lore, because the most unsettling places are not always far away. Sometimes they are the places that already know your name.